If you're a coach, it's quite possible you have no idea what your clients look like today.
Welcome to the show. Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power.
Hi, welcome to Your Ultimate Life. This is a special coaching edition, the Thursday editions. Usually I have two coaches on here, and I've been doing that for 7 months now. October, November, December, January, February, yeah. And once in a while, 3 or 4 of them I've done with myself, and one of them I did with Joy, the other co-author. But anyway, I wanted to do this as a solo. I've got more episodes coming with two coaches. But here's what the deal is. It's very possible. In fact, it's not possible. It's absolutely certain that the people coming to you are completely different that are potential clients, prospects, clients, even clients you already have or have had for some years are completely different. And here's why. The AI revolution. I wrote this book, Coaching and the Rise of AI. And if you're a coach, or if you are receiving coaching, this is the most essential book for you to read in the universe. And I say that with absolute certainty. If you're a coach and you don't know what's in that book, you're finished. You'll be out of business by Christmas. If you're a client and you want to know how to get the most out of your coaching, read that book. All right. So much for the advertisement. It's not really. It's true. There's nothing else been written that is on the market today that explores this like this book does. And here's what's happening. AI is just a tool, right? It's a technology. It's a mirror. It reflects. It synthesizes. It grabs information from everywhere. But if you're using it in the context of coaching, which is giving information or reflection or ideas or synthesis to help someone achieve something, I mean, that's what coaching is, right? We are in the business of elevating people. We are in the business of, I use the acronym WIPOS, helping people realize their worth, identity, possibility, ownership, and sovereignty, WIPOS. Why? Well, for the purpose of living the ultimate life, more powerful, create more money, be a better father, mother, be a better person, more satisfied, more content, more effective, more powerful, more influential, more or better at something. That's what coaching's about. Sports coaching, performance coaching, musical coaching, piano coaching, which I've done boatloads of, decades, and so forth. So all of those things are what coaching's about. And the real power in coaching doesn't come from ideas or frameworks or tools. And that is past for coaching now for decades, the last 2 decades. 20 years, mostly coaching's been about frameworks and tools and ideas and accountability and check-ins and good questions and so forth. Those are useless. They're gone. They're finished. And if that's what you're using, you're out of business by Christmas. And if you're mad at me for saying that, that's fine. Read the book and then have an opinion. Really, read the book and then have an opinion. Because if you haven't, you don't get to have an opinion yet. So now that I've said all that scary stuff that's either made you mad or curious, one of the two. And I've said that in the book and with coaches that have been on the program. Today is about what this technology, this artificial intelligence, these large language models, whether it's Grok or Claude or ChatGPT or, whoever else the name is, they're coming out all over the place. What is that doing to your prospects and your clients who are looking at it and using it? When I started doing these interviews in September, lots of people were either not using it much or using it superficially, like write some emails or do a little better search than Google does, or write some, landing page copy and that kind of thing. And that's great. It's good at all that stuff because it has access to, Halbert and Dan Kennedy and Yo Mama Production and everybody else. And that's fine. But that doesn't even begin to tap the possibilities that this tool offers. And now, 7 months later, since I started this podcast series, and it's been a year, not quite a year since I decided to write the book. It was May of 25, and this is April, so almost. I realized that 95% of coaches will be out of business by Christmas of 26, which is now 9 months away. And I was thinking to start with from the point of view of what is it doing to coaching, meaning the process of helping people discover who they really are, feel more powerful, get out from underneath the weight of old stories and beliefs and, unstuck and get out of your own way and all of those hackneyed, worn out phrases that are all true, but they've become almost meaningless because they're overused. And then the people that I've talked to now have transformed over these 7 months into saying, what really matters is, and I'm going to use the word presence, but that is the ineffable or indescribable process of us being together for a minute or for an hour or for 2 hours, being in the same place, energetically, spiritually, powerfully, being that together. That's what matters. And that's all that's left, because all of the language and words and frameworks and tools and checklists and, ways to do things and advanced Gantt charts and, all the things, even stuff I wrote about in the book, The Results Equation, which is the best book in the world about how to get things done, make accomplishments happen, especially for small business and solopreneurs. Even those, AI can help with dramatically, just like it's changing work all over the place. So what I want to talk about today is what I just said. What is it doing to the prospects and clients? Because we've been talking about coaching changing and coaches needing to adapt and coaching models and capability gaps. And the most fundamental truth of all of that is if you as a coach and me are not the embodiment of what we teach, like if I'm not the embodiment of worth, identity, possibility, ownership, sovereignty, if I'm not creating purpose, prosperity, including cash and joy, then I have no business leading and guiding people in that direction. So, and that's always been true. It's just, it is now more exposed. It's exposed. It's laid bare because you can buy 95% of what passed for coaching for the last 10 years for $49 a month. So why would people pay $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 a month or $15,000? I know coaches that have charged that. Some are still able to. Most are not, because they're not good enough at what they do that matters, which is that presence, holding, being in the place with, authentic and true. People are scared of it, and they for good reason. Is if I'm a coach and I'm trying to hold a powerful space and I haven't walked this road and blood bled on the floor and I haven't done these things that I'm teaching, I got no power. So what is it doing to our prospects and clients? Well, here's the first thing. They're using AI already. They're using it, some of them really well, some of them in the dabbling and learning mode, some of them in the write my emails mode. And those are all good. Write my landing page, give me some marketing hacks and messages and write me a series of 10 emails and, analyze these, talk to it and tell me and analyze where I'm speaking poorly and where I'm speaking well. All those things are just the beginning, just the surface level. But lots of people, especially, and this is important, especially those who are in the self-development or personal development game. I'm not talking about coaches. I'm talking about clients or potential clients who want to grow. People that are yearning for the glories of growth and the prize of fulfillment. People that are wanting that, they're digging into AI and they're exploring what it can do. And they're being blown away by the capabilities over and over. I talked to somebody the other day who said, I worked with AI for an afternoon and it did more for me than my previous coach had in a year. I want you to hear that. Either AI's magic or the coaching wasn't very effective, or both. And that's what I mean when I say coaches are not going to be able to make a living, partly because they aren't adapting, and we've talked about that. What we're talking about today is the clients are different. The prospects are different. So we're talking about not the world, but the very small subset, I say 5% or less, that are actually digging in to the personal growth stuff and they want help. And they're turning to AI, and they should, and they will. And as AI gets better, that will be more and more valuable and powerful, which means if you're going to get a person to coach you for that space and that presence and that magic stuff that AI can't do, you, me, we're going to have to be better and better. We're going to have absolute presence and power on flipping demand. That's what I want to talk about today. All right. So they're using AI already. Your prospects are getting advice, getting processing problems. I had another example besides the one I just gave you of someone else who told me they had an argument with their wife and they went to bed. You're not supposed to go to bed on your anger, but they did. And he expected to have to deal with it the next day. And the next day his wife was cool. Everything's fine. And he said, what happened? He said, well, I coached myself through it with chat. And he was absolutely floored. He sat down and boom. That's happening. That is. And I want you to think about it. So here's what people are using AI for now. Not only, but lots. And I want you to think in terms of prospects who might be your clients, meaning they're of the group who are looking for growth. They have had coaching or they are in some kind of container and they're intentionally trying to be more than they are, be better, be more thoughtful, powerful, kind, attractive, attraction marketing, effective in their business, whatever it is, all the way from cash to spiritual stuff and everything in between. All right. They're using it for, I made a list here. They're using it for decision making. Help me analyze the alternatives here and make a decision. Now, A is not perfect and it hallucinates. And so don't start down that path with me because we already all know that. And if you work with it, you can get past all that and get really good help with it. So if you're going to, get stuck on the hallucination thing, you're missing the boat because while that's true, it's not important, except you have to work with it till you get past that. Okay. They're using it for problem solving. I've got this problem. It might be a marketing problem. It might be an emotional problem. It might be a communication problem. It might be a problem with your teenager. It might be a problem with your spouse, like the example I gave. Okay. They're using it for emotional processing. I've used it for that. I feel this. I was working yesterday in music. Now, you guys know I've got a lot of songs. I've got 90, almost 100 songs in commercial release. I've got 3 that'll be finished in the next month or so, 3 more. And I'm already working on a 4th album that those 3 finish another album I'm working on. But I'm starting on a 4th album and I want it to be different. I want it to be, a certain thing, whatever. And I was working with ideas with my chat bot, which I've trained deeply, thoroughly now for months and months, and have over 5 million words of my books and things in there. So my point is it knows me really well, knows what I'm trying to do, my mission, my purpose, everything in my other albums, all the lyrics, etc. So it was effectively communicating with me about what I was trying to do. And then it said some things, and reading those things it was emotional. It triggered something deep in me and I started to get emotional. I was weeping and I said so. I said, I got to stop right now. I'm weeping in this. I need to just move through this and process this stuff. And it came back and said some very insightful things. And it said, we're going to stop now, but understand this. And then gave me some thoughts, and it was very helpful in emotionally processing my experience, what I was experiencing. So my point is it's effective. It's being used for brainstorming a lot. And again, you need to have good guidance, garbage in, garbage out. But if you work with it and give it good guidance, it's flipping good at this. And using it also for validation. If you've got an idea and you're putting it in there, it pushes back on me hard. I've done some validation stuff. What about this? Yeah, this and this is good, but this part's weak. That really sounds like you're not sure, et cetera, and it's pushed back on me in a way that is helpful. Some people complain about it being too affirming. It's too nice, and it does. It's programmed to do that. Well, that's the greatest idea in the universe. And I say back, no, it's not. Stop saying that. And so, it'll straighten up for, half a dozen threads back and forth. And I have to remind it again because one of the fundamental tenets is be nice, be encouraging, but it'll be helpful if you make it and tell it to. It's also doing things like these kind of examples. Should I leave this job? And it might ask questions, especially if you tell it to. How do I handle this conflict? Another one I wrote down is, what's the best strategy for this situation? And as long as you work with it, it's doing really well. Now, my point in saying all that, none of that's probably news to you, but my point is your clients or prospects, before you even get them, are using it for that, because those that are seeking personal growth are already digging. And so the key insight for you here is your clients are coming, or potential clients or existing clients, they're coming in pre-processed. In the old coaching model, the old way, clients came in confused, stuck, overwhelmed, underwhelmed, unclear. I don't even know why I'm stuck. And you may still have people that are coming that way. And the likelihood is they are not ready for deep coaching, because working with AI can clear all that stuff up and get them to a much more elevated place. Well, if they're coming in a much more elevated place, that means you and me, we got to meet them in that elevated place and get ready to go. And that means we have to be the embodiment of that, because the coach in the confused, unclear, and overwhelmed world, and then they were just helping them think and helping them decide and helping them get organized. That is all done. So that means 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 coaching sessions is all handled already. And you've got to start at 70% instead of at 20 in terms of, the growth process, which means you and I have got to be way better, beyond way better at what we do. So here's the real truth. People are coming pre-processed. And so you and I, as a coach, we are no longer the first layer of thinking. Maybe not even the second layer of thinking. We start below that if you're going deep, or above that if you're, working from above, however you frame it. But AI is now the first coach, and maybe the second. And you're next. It's the same thing that happened when people started looking on Google for diagnoses for their medical conditions. People used to go to the doctor without a lot of preparation. This and this and this is wrong. And everybody just said, oh, the doctor says X, so it must be right. Okay, duh. That was how it was. And doctor was God. That's not true anymore. And I've got a perfect example of that. My wife, Joy, who is an angel, and she has a direct connection to heaven, so she's probably better than most, but she does research like nobody's business about every condition. And this is before, when her father passed away with cancer in 2005, which was, in the much earlier days of the internet, she had done tons and tons of research, and effective research, not just to argue with doctors and even specialists, but for protocols and things to do in between. And in fact, it was so effective that when her dad started receiving chemo treatments and she was doing some organic-y stuff that I'm not going to pretend to know about, he came in with better blood work than he had before. And the nurse said to Joy, "Are you a cancer nurse? Like, what are you doing that's so good?" Because they couldn't understand the results that she was getting. And he eventually did pass away, but the time was much healthier and the effects of the chemo and stuff were a lot less. So that was then, and that was 20 years ago, 22 years ago. And so 21 years ago, I guess, only 26. Put that on steroids, amplified by 10, 20, 50, 100. Patients come into doctors now fully loaded. Well, I looked this up and I looked this up and I looked this up and this is what it said. And it used to be in the first years, the doctor said, well, you can't do that anymore. And doctors take it seriously now if they're worth their salt. Well, clients or prospects are going to come in fully loaded. I looked up this, I tried this, what about this, what about that? And they're going to have all kinds of ideas and things already in their pockets binders, in their folder about what's possible and what's the right thing to do. And our job is to honor that, to love them, to be fully present with them so they feel enveloped in our attention completely. And then and only then will we have enough credibility to work with what they've already learned and elevate them further. And I want you to hear that. Okay? Here's the danger. Here's some danger for coaches. This is where you have to pay attention. Because if your coaching today consists mostly of asking questions, helping people think through things, organizing ideas, giving frameworks, even if they're frameworks that you know and you've used and they work, you are competing with something that is faster, cheaper, and available anywhere and everywhere. You're going to lose. Period. So then you might be saying, okay, what's left? Embodiment. And embodiment's a fancy word that's getting used too much these days, but it simply means you are the truth of what you teach. If you teach integrity, your integrity is impeccable. And if it's not, that is your area of work as a coach. Because the truth is transmitted through ways we don't understand. And if we're not carrying the truth of what we teach, we're useless. People are coming in, at least my experience, and what I know is happening, 80% coached. 80% with ideas, and the dross is discarded. We're working on that deep 20% to start with. And if you're not there, you're done. And by there, you might be saying to yourself, well, of course, I only work in that 20%. I'm already all that. You're dead. You're finished. Because if that is the way you feel about it, then you're not treating it with the sacred love and listening and service that it deserves. Pure love is the box. Listening is the first creation. Love is the box. And I say, I love you completely, exactly as you are here now. Create space for imagination to blossom and creativity to explode and serve you fearlessly and in your highest and best interest. Well, that creation, the first creation, is listening. How you listen to someone is creating them. If anything about your listening is not full, energetically congruent, absolutely focused, and totally grounded in love, it doesn't create the kind of power you need to access the top stuff. It just doesn't. So I want you to let that sink in. Clients are getting 80% of the way there from AI, and it's going to only get better. And they question, they're wondering, is it worth paying especially high fees for that last 20%? And it depends on who you're being. Who are you as you show up? And you, as a coach, or me, we might feel pressure to justify the value. And you're finished. If you do that because they're coming, AI doesn't push back, argue, get upset, get threatened, or anything else. It's just there, and it reflects, and it does a great job. So what do we do? Well, if your value, this is going to hurt. If your value is your thinking, you're already being replaced. You're out of business. So if that's true, holy crap, what is left? Well, all that I said before is not bad news, actually good news, because it's going to get rid of all the chaff. It's going to get rid of all those that are pretending to coach. It's going to get rid of all those who took those courses that say, be a life coach. You can work from anywhere and make a real difference. They're done. And that might sound harsh, but it's true. And they won't be able to make a living. And I define arbitrarily making a living as 100K US, just because that's a good number. And if we're not making that, we're not going to make a living. We either have to have another job or a partner that works or something. So, but I know you don't want to be there. You want to be in that top 5%. So I am. And I know you are or want to be. So what is it that we have to do? What they need now isn't any of those things. It is pure embodiment where we, you and me, we are the truth of what we teach, meaning eliminating blocks. We have our blocks eliminated. We are never self-conscious, but always self-aware. We are creating them with the love and the listening. When I say create space for imagination to blossom and creativity to explode, the first creation is listening. We listen them into being. We listen them into their greatness. We listen them, and I'm leaving the two out on purpose. We listen to them into possibilities because they are created by the power of our listening. That's not all, but that's where it starts, because that eliminates the doubts and the fear and the worries and puts us in a place where we then can communicate deeply. It puts us in a place where we are out of the picture and is not about us at all. There's nothing to prove and everything to give. So we have to be embodiment. We have to be pure courage. We have to model and teach decision ownership, not just decision processes, but how to own your life and your decisions. How to remind them powerfully with our embodiment that the ownership of life means that we create our life, one impression, one thought, one decision at a time. And if we are not living that, we got nothing to give, because they're coming ready for that. It used to be that, oh, that was the advanced stuff. We got to get all this other stuff out of the way before we can even get to the advanced stuff. You're starting here. All that's gone. For true seekers. Now, people can come completely broken who put no effort and they're looking for somebody to wave a magic wand. And if that's the kind of client you're looking for, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to those of us who have known that this advanced stuff starts with life ownership, with love, with power, with self-forgiveness. And we are now must, absolutely without question, we got to start there. Or we have nothing to offer, because all of the rest of the stuff before that is and will be better and better handled by these models. I know several powerful coaches that are already making or have already made coaching bots by putting all their coaching sessions and books and things that they've done in there so that the LLM can be very effective at helping clients between sessions. And that even puts more responsibility, I won't say pressure, because you're in this business for love or you're not in it. You're not going to be in this business if it's not grounded on love, pure service. So the first creation, we owe them. Love, create, serve. The first creation is listening. The second creation is honoring them for who they already are. Divine beings with infinite gifts and talents, with a seeking and yearning and earnest heart. That's who they already are. They wouldn't be in front of you. And automatically that excludes all the tire kickers and thrill seekers and magic wand wavers and all the rest of it. The depth of true coaching is where you have now the opportunity to shine. So I think this isn't a warning. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's going to cull out all the nonsense. Yay. Beautiful, powerful, yippee. That means those of us who are committed to always self-growth, honesty, forgiveness, improvement, eliminating pride, eliminating any mirrors, the light shining on me, but always loving and lifting, listening to them, we have the opportunity to shine because clients are coming ready for that. And I want you to think about what that actually means, okay? Because this is super important. All right. So here's the opportunity. The opportunity is for you to step up in your game. The opportunity is for you to be all the time what you may have been once in a while. AI is going to do the helping of people think, but it cannot help them in the becoming, because the becoming, the soul level change, takes place only in that container of love and power. That's the only place it can happen. Love is the foundation of growth. It is the foundation of safety, being listened to and honored. First creation is listening. The second creation is honoring them for who they are. The third creation is eliminating the masks, the sunglasses, the barriers that prevent them from seeing who they really are. Okay? If I listen you into existence till you feel loved and held, and second, if I honor you for who you are already, not what you've done, maybe some of that too, but who you are, the divine being, worth, identity, possibility, ownership, sovereignty. And then step 3, if I help you pull off the glasses, the fog that prevent you from seeing who you really are. Wow. That energy starts to light the room, and people light up, and they get excited, not because of hype, but because they begin truly to see and then to believe. So that's the third creation. Listening, honoring, unmasking. And the fourth creation, and there's more detail to all these, of course, but the fourth creation is the encouragement, the powerful encouragement that they can depend on you as the bedrock for honoring, unmasking, and helping who they are. That bedrock, they know how you see and feel about them, and they can land and stand on that. And then with that, they begin to love themselves deeply and powerfully, because it's only when we really love ourselves that we can love others. We can't love anybody else more than we love ourselves, as much as people want to argue with that. It's just not true. So self-love is the greatest honor we can do to the God who created us. He didn't create us to hate or to be angry or to be frustrated with ourselves. You know, and love God and love your neighbor as yourself. That assumes you love yourself. You know, if you read in Christianity, if you read John chapter 17, Jesus says that God loves us just like he loved Jesus. That's pretty intense. That means God loves you and me with all his heart, might, mind, and strength. Well, that's not a surprise. That's the first great commandment in that tradition. But even though I'm referring to Christianity, every tradition has a similar framework. And if we are not the embodiment of that framework, we don't have anything to offer them beyond what the AI already can and will be even better at doing. So your clients are coming pre-processed. They're coming already with much of the work done. 80% is an arbitrary number, but the real growth, the exponential part of all this, happens in the last few percent, and you know that. You know, there's gradual improvement, and then there's that hockey stick thing, right? Where it suddenly goes up. That's in that last few percent. So AI is radically changing your clients or your prospects. It's going to immediately filter out the dabblers. It's going to force, if we want to stay in the business, us to be absolutely the truth and embodiment of what we are, so that we transparently can transmit that love, that listening, that honoring, that unmasking, and that radical support for self-love and taking risks. One of the things I have in my own document is I help you elevate the substance, success, and sweetness of life's journey by daring more greatly experiencing more deeply, and leaning in more joyously. Every single thing is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for love. It's an opportunity to bless those around us. And if we are not living that truth, then we cannot teach it effectively. We can say the words, but we're talking about that thing over there. So who we must become is the final thing, because the ground has shifted. The clients have changed. The whole world has moved. We have to move into presence. And presence is a wishy woo-woo word, but it simply means the energy of love and focus and attention. We have to be that all the time, 100%. We have to be truth. Truth carries its own power. We're talking about things that doesn't carry the power of truth, and you know what I mean. We have to also be able to confront directly, but with an outpouring of love, so that love is the basket. And we have to be the embodiment of identity work. And what I mean by that is, including shadow work and including the beliefs that we have. I wrote a book called The Book of Context, which is all about our identity. We have a context straitjacket. So does everyone. But if we are not the master of ours and understand how to use it and call it out and eliminate the limiting stories and beliefs and all that, if we are not that, we cannot model that. Okay? We have to be able to lovingly call out avoidance and hold emotional space. And that's a hackneyed phrase. Okay, I hold space. Literally, it means the safe, loving silence where the chrysalis opens and the butterfly begins to emerge. We have to challenge inconsistency and anchor identity. And we can't do any of that with just words. We have to be that thing. I love you with everything that I am. And I'm sharing this because we've talked a lot about, the coaching industry changing. And one of the profound things haven't talked a lot about until today is that the people floating around that might be clients are different because of this particular tool and how fast it's developing. Your job is no longer to help people figure things out. You know what it is? Our job is to help people become the person, each person, become the person who can follow through with what they already know. Information is free. True, permanent, sustained transformation is priceless. That is what we have to be, because the clients, potentially prospects, people walking around. And again, I'm talking about those subset of people that are yearning for growth. I'm not even talking about the others that aren't. Because our effect is first, foremost, loudest, biggest, and strongest with those that are yearning and seeking. And they're looking for some embodied coach who can love them, listen to them, open their eyes, and support them with the love and truth of who they really are at the core. Your clients are already being coached every day, and heavily if they're using these tools a lot. So the question is, why would they even need you? I just sit with that. Really, no hype. They only need you or me if we can do something AI cannot do. Love them. Listen them into existence, into honor. Unmask the truth, not just words, but the truth of who they are and what they can have. Challenge them with love and with power. Call them forward, standing on the truth, if need be, of our belief at first, until and as they learn to love themselves. AI isn't going to kill coaching. It's going to expose it. And everybody that's not willing to live the embodied truth of what they teach will be out of business. I love you. If I can help you, get a hold of me. YourUltimateLifePodcast.com. YourUltimateLifePodcast.com. There's a contact form. If you have a story you want to share, if you want to be interviewed on one of the coaching episodes, or if I can help you, this is all I do, is love, listen, create, and serve. That is how come I live my own ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. Your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellanFluckigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe. Share.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on